Welcome back to another episode of the weekly injury report. We're getting into week 9 of the NFL season, which is hard to believe because it feels like just last week I had a little bit of hope. Anyways, let's start with the biggest news of the week. Stefon Diggs tore his ACL and will be out for the remainder of the season. A huge loss to Houston Texans offense that is currently performing a little bit underwhelming from what was expected, but they still have Tank Dell. And thankfully, they should be getting Nico Collins back next week as he has not experienced any setbacks in his recovery from a hamstring injury and is expected to be ready to play in week 10 as soon as he comes off of IR. So some bad news for Texans fans there and Stefon Diggs, but thankfully they get Nico Collins back, who before he went on IR with a hamstring injury was arguably the best receiver in football so far through the season. Another player that is currently on IR but is expected back soon is Christian McCaffrey. We finally have some Christian McCaffrey news. He is still dealing with Achilles tendonitis and a calf issue, but 49ers have a bye this week and he is expected to begin practicing, if not this week, then leading up to week 10. It's unclear if he's expected to play. They are being cautious with him, but they are excited because he will be activated off of IR and have that 21-day window opened. Derek Carr is hopefully going to be the savior for the New Orleans Saints season. He has practiced on Wednesday, and it is trending like he is going to be playing this week, which is sorely needed for the Saints as they have lost 6 straight games, something that only the Jets could really compete for against them. But he is expected to be back and should help uplift that offense back to that top scoring offense that they were doing previously. Jordan Love is back on the injury report. He suffered a groin injury, but self-proclaimed by him as well as his coach, he's expected to play and should not have any issues or any lingering problems leading up to the game this week. Jaden Daniels, we talked about last week with that rib injury. He was considered week to week. He managed to play with one heck of a Hail Mary pass to finish off that game and pull out a win for the Commanders, but he's still on the injury report with a ribs injury. He is expected, though, to play through it as he did last week, as he has not had any new issues. Mike Evans. So shout out to Dane and Garage Strength here. They want to know a little bit more in depth as far as recoveries go for specific injuries with some of the top players in the NFL, which I think is a great idea. So let's dive into it a little bit. We all know Mike Evans injured his hamstring 2 weeks ago in the Monday night game against the Ravens. And he re-aggravated it in that game after he had initially pulled it and strained it the week before, and now he's expected to be out several weeks. So what does that recovery timeline look for Evans, and what can he do to get back faster? So typically for a hamstring strain or any type of muscle strain, so long as it's in the muscle belly itself, we're looking at somewhere around 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit less, depending on the grade. If the grade is more severe and it's either fully torn or partially torn, it's going to take a little bit longer. Similarly, if the tear is closer to either the origin site of that muscle or the insertion, wherever that muscle attaches, and becomes more of a tendon, that will also prolong the recovery simply because that tendon has less blood supply than the muscle itself does. So it just takes longer to heal. For Evans specifically, what he's initially going to kind of go through is first you need to just work on improving the mobility and flexibility and pain that he's experiencing. They might do things like soft tissue work, manual therapy, Graston. A great thing to do would be using a tack and floss band and using that to break up some of the restrictions, some of the tightness in the tone that's currently restricting him and that muscle. As his pain decreases, you can start to add in more and more exercises that not only strengthen but become more sport specific. Initially, you might start with an isometric exercise, which is where you keep the length of the muscle the same while it's contracting. Typically, this helps to reduce a little bit of pain as well as begin the cycle of strengthening. As his pain continues to decrease, then we get into eccentric loading, which a muscle contraction occurs, but the muscle is being lengthened at the same time. This is particularly strenuous on not only the muscle, but the tendon itself of that muscle, and usually a great way to increase strength. As he continues to build his strength and flexibility and mobility, his pain continues to go down, this is where he can begin to jog and then run and then sprint in that order, and slowly work up to more sport-specific drills like cutting, running routes, things of that nature that require these really sharp and specific and explosive movements. Now, muscles can be classified in a bunch of different ways, but one way that I want to look at it here is if we're looking at a parallel running muscle, or what we call a pennate muscle. Now, a parallel muscle is a muscle that the fibers run parallel to the axis of the muscle itself. Prime example of this would be the hamstring. These muscles are really, really good at really quick, speedy movements and contractions, but they don't generate as much power as pennate muscles. Pennate muscles are muscles that have this tendon running through them all the way through, and then the muscle fibers running off of it, almost like a feather in a way. These muscles are much better for strength and power than they are speed. Not to say that they can't contract quickly, but they're always going to be a little bit stronger and are designed to be more powerful than the parallel muscles, such as the hamstring. A good example of a pennate muscle would be like your quad. With the hamstring being a parallel muscle, it is going to be those quick, explosive movements where the muscle is consistently contracting quickly that Evans is going to struggle with most. That's why sometimes these hamstring injuries in particular, but also soft tissue injuries, tend to take a little bit longer. The hamstrings cross two joints. They not only work at bending your knee, but they also extend your hip, as well as you can't really take your hamstrings out of something that you do every single day, day to day. They're required for walking, for standing, whatever it might be. If you're on your feet, they're going to be used. So that's something else that can sometimes delay the recovery. But then also with those really quick contractions, someone might have no issues getting up until that last stage where they're doing sport-specific movements and cutting and drills. But then ultimately they do these things, and that's where they really start to feel their pain. But that is a little bit more detail with Mike Evans and what he might be going through in his recovery process. Obviously, I don't know him personally, unfortunately. I'm working on it. But it's not clear as to where his tear is or to necessarily what severity, but it's looking somewhere around that 3 to 4 week timeline at the very least. And then depending on some of the different presentations of how severe it is and so on and so forth, that timeline could extend a little bit longer. In next week's video, we're going to break down his fellow teammate and wide receiver Chris Godwin and what it means when you dislocate an ankle and what they would do to surgically repair that. So make sure you tune in next week to check that out. And of course, to end it always is my weekly Jets rant. However, I do have some injury news. First, Allen Lazard is expected to be out Thursday with a chest injury. Whoop-de-doo. It's not like Rodgers can throw anyone the ball anyways. And Greg Zuerlein has been placed on IR with a undisclosed injury, which I like to and have been calling the can't hit a field goal injury, which I don't know what's going on. Granted, the Jets have other issues, but if he made some free throws. I'm losing my mind. If you can't tell, I'm moving on to college basketball season. Football season's done for the Jets and for me. But if Greg Zuerlein has made even a couple of his field goals and at least the extra point that he missed in last week's loss to the Patriots, the Jets could easily be 5-3. Do they have other issues? Yes. Am I over it? Yes. Am I considering turning this into a college basketball podcast instead of an NFL? Yeah. But I do like football. And unfortunately, I destroy my mental state and decide that I'm going to watch it anyway. So if you want to see how my mental state continues to fall apart throughout the rest of the season, by all means, please continue to watch. I'm sure it'll be fun. It'll be one heck of a ride. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you leave a comment down below, like, subscribe, and let me know if there's anything that you'd like to hear a little bit more about, another injury that we'd like to go into, and I can absolutely break that down for you. But other than that, best of luck to everyone's fantasy teams and your own personal teams that you root for. If you have any suggestions of who I should root for, please tell me, because the Jets ain't working. See you guys in the next one.